Welcome, everybody. This is Ava filling in for John. Welcome to Mertech.com's Daily News Update Extra. We are sharing a video snippet that provides no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. I am following this channel and given this video a thumbs up. The link to this video is in the description box below. Please follow Mertech on Rumble. Give me a thumbs up and share this information far and wide. This great news update will begin momentarily. Thank you and may God bless.
And my first guest tonight has made those goals his top priority. Stephen Miller has been at the president's side for a decade. And now in his role as Deputy Chief of Staff and Homeland Security Advisor, he's working to make President Trump's vision for a safer and stronger America the reality. But that task is not without its challenges. So when I sat down with Stephen this week, I asked him how he plans to overcome the opposition. Stephen, we're almost halfway through 2025. You've been around for a long time. You've been around President Trump for a long time. Give me your take on the state of things within the Trump administration 2.0, as I call it, and what are the top priorities heading into the summer?
Well, first of all, it's wonderful to be here with you. I've been around for 10 years now. Sometimes it feels like it's only been a year. I mean, just in terms of how quickly time has moved as we've gone through as a nation, this incredible revolution of common sense, as the president calls it, and the birth of the MAGA movement all the way to the height of not just American politics, but world politics, right? The MAGA movement, the Trump movement sits on top of geopolitics for the entire world as the most successful, influential political movement, changing the entire planet in terms of peace, security, prosperity. What I think about the most as I look back on this short period of time is how the president spent the last 4 years planning and preparing and getting ready for this moment so that when he took that oath of office on January 20th, he knew exactly what he wanted to do from the moment he stepped into that Oval Office. He knew what bill he wanted to pass through Congress. He knew what he wanted to do on the border. He knew what he wanted to do on trade. He knew what he wanted to do on foreign policy, on military policy, on reforming the bureaucracy, and on fighting and draining the swamp. So we've seen more action and more activity in the last 4 months than any new administration has ever put into effect.
Let me ask you about President Trump, because as you say, you've been around for 10 years. You've seen him through a lot. What has changed about President Trump and what hasn't changed about President Trump and the way he operates in the White House?
So President Trump, I've been so blessed, so fortunate to be able to watch him as a leader up front, close and personal for 10 years, as again, he built the MAGA movement from nothing, from scratch. You know, in 2016, when he first ran, I don't want to insult anybody, but I think pretty much every other Republican in that race was some version of an establishment Republican. That's all the Republican Party had to offer, was establishment Republicanism, status quo. President Trump blew up that whole entire failed system, and for the first time in our lifetimes, gave the American people a different choice, something other than the status quo, something other than, and I know it's a harsh word to use, but we were on a glide path to national suicide. Between open borders, between uncontrolled bureaucracy, between our total surrender on trade and economic policy, the throttling of American energy, the destruction of our culture, our education system, and the destruction of the rule of law, we were going to become a failed nation. And he changed all of that. And he offered people not just a choice, but hope. For the first time in their lives, they had hope that somebody in this system would fight for them. Nobody would ever choose to endure the 10 years of communist persecution that he, his family, his business associates, and his friends were subjected to. Watching him now be able to outmaneuver the left every single day, be 10 steps ahead of them at all times, just demonstrates how much they miscalculated by coming after him, because they've now made him far stronger than they could have ever possibly imagined. I've never seen any leader more determined and resolved to do the right thing. Whenever anyone brings him a problem set, he always just says, we need to do what's right for the American people. I don't care what they say about me. I don't care what they do to me. I don't care what I have to endure. We're going to do what's right for the American people. And that's what you're seeing every single day. The first term of President Trump was the most successful presidency that we have ever seen. But the second term is defying even the highest expectations the American people have ever had.
What do you think happens to the Democrats as a whole? They took things way too far on a lot of fronts. Where do you think their party goes from here?
Part of the reason why they have resorted to lawfare as effectively their entire political strategy is because they have an unsellable ideology. In other words, they're committed in a popular democracy. They're committed to a series of beliefs that are like 10, 20% in support. So they have to be corrupt to get anything done. Men and women's sports, as President says, completely open borders to the worst criminals on the face of the earth, people guilty of child predation, murder, even people who are guilty of violent torture and beating and killing and just senseless slaughtering. And they're let in without limitation for 4 years, right? A political party that's committed to raising taxes on everybody, right? A political party that is against the police, that wants to defund the police in your community, that wants to let rioters run free. And the punching bag for all of this are the hardworking American citizens. The people who do it right, they're the ones who are getting the brunt of it every day, economically, socially, culturally. So it's an unwinnable political message. If we can accomplish these reforms to just have a free and fair society, the Democrats are doomed. They cannot compete or operate in a fair system, which is why they have to rig it.
What are you guys doing to ensure that a future administration doesn't come in and just dismantle everything that you've worked so hard to do?
Well, it's hard for me to think that far into the future because every day is a lifetime right now. You know, we wake up in the morning under President Trump's direction, and he wants to know, what are you doing to reform higher education? What are you doing to fight violent crime? What are you doing to make our trading system fair and deal with the theft of American jobs? What are you doing to make sure that our government is responsive and accountable to the people and isn't a swampy, horrible, terrible bureaucracy? So, you know, we're so much focused on solving these crises and challenges of today. But I think my best answer to your question is that because President Trump built a movement, an entire movement, there are now a whole generation of leaders to carry on what he started and what he created.
What does restoring the republic look like? I know that's basically the overall goal over this 4-year term for President Trump. You're a big player in that. So what does that mean, and how do you restore the republic?
When President Trump talks about restoring the republic, he means restoring a country in which the fundamental loyalty and allegiance we have is to the American citizen who does everything right. And that's why the system has been such a travesty for so long, is that the people who they work hard in a job that perhaps is thankless, nobody's appreciating them. They earn enough money, barely, to support their family, to take care of their kids, to take care of their loved ones. They follow every rule. They pay every tax, no matter how outrageous. And they look around them, and everybody else that isn't doing it right is getting rewarded. So the scammers and grifters in Washington, D.C. are getting rich. The illegal aliens are getting rich. The criminals are getting away with everything. So this person thinks, I've done everything right in my life, and the entire system serves everyone at my expense. Restoring the republic means that the citizen, the law-abiding, God-fearing, honest citizen, is at the center of the government's priorities and allegiance. And that's what President Trump is doing with his leadership each and every day.
Much more to come with Stephen Miller as our nation once again prioritizes secure borders.
We are going to have an immigration system that prioritizes self-sufficiency, standing on your own two legs, supporting American values, culture, history, being able to assimilate into our country, and obeying the rule of law.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.